week 12 NFL power rankings here on the NFL with AJL. And we've got a good bit of a shakeup in this in these power rankings here. Week 12 NFL power rankings. So the 1 and the 2 are going to stay the same. Philadelphia beats Kansas City close on the road. Kansas City is still a top team in the league to me. They still hold the best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. And that was a good, boring win that we just had to watch them grind out. That's why I said I trust Philadelphia later on in the year. Detroit wins close to the Chicago Bears. Now, you think that they should have dropped down, in these rankings here, but I'm still going to keep them up at the number 2 team. Number 3 for me is going to be San Francisco. They blow out the Bucks at home, handle business there, do what they need to do. The Baltimore Ravens will be in at number 4. They blew out the Bengals. Now it was amid Joe Burrow's injury, but nonetheless, the Baltimore Ravens win that game. Kansas City is going to fall from the 3 to the 5 in this week's power rankings as they lose to the Eagles close at home. And I thought about keeping them at the 3rd spot, but I do believe if Detroit, San Francisco, or Baltimore played them today, and Detroit's already played them, they would win. And Philadelphia has already beat them as well. So Kansas City rightfully at the 5 spot. Jacksonville blew out the Titans at home, so they're going to be in there at the 6 spot for me, blowing out the divisional rival, doing what they absolutely need to do. No questions there. Dallas blew out the Panthers on the road, so doing what they need to do. No reason to really explain there. The Houston Texans. This was probably the one team from the week that I was like, wow, do I really have the Texans as the number 8 team in football, even though CJ Stroud just threw 3 picks against the Cardinals? Well, yeah. I mean, I do think if they played Buffalo, Miami, Denver, Minnesota, Cleveland, Seattle, or Pittsburgh, I do believe at this point in the season, the Houston Texans would win. And are they a young team? Yes. Do they have a lot of work to do still because they're a young team? Yes. But they're playing with house money. Tank Dell was a steal. CJ Stroud is clearly a star in the making, and the Texans are just continuing to wow people as we go on through the NFL season. The Buffalo Bills at number 9, they blow out the Jets at home, do what they need to do in the divisional game, and I'm not going to overhype them too much. I've got the Miami Dolphins at the 10 spot. They win close to the Raiders at home. Was going to talk about that game here on the show. I was just running out of a little bit of time. Wanted to start, of course, at 7, but we got going a little bit after 7 o'clock. But everyone that's ahead of Miami, including Buffalo, that's beat them, I believe that Miami would lose to all those teams. So I'm going to comfortably keep them at the 10 spot. Now, the Denver Broncos come surging up in my power rankings, make an appearance out of nowhere at the number 11 team. And again, if everyone below them played them today, based off the defense that they're putting on the field right now, I believe the Denver Broncos would win that game. Shout out to Drew from Pick a Side. Shout out to Coach Jake, who's a Broncos fan. Shout out to RG, one of my mom's best friends, who's a Broncos fan. Russ was never washed. I told y'all Sean Payton was going to do this. It just took me about 3 months to be able to be right on it. Broncos at number 11. Their offense does need to be better, but 12 turnovers in the last 3 weeks on the Vikings, Chiefs, and Bills, some of the best teams in the league compared to how they've been playing lately. You got to give them their credit. Minnesota at number 12. They do lose the close game by 1 to the Broncos on the road. And Minnesota just kind of got leveled out. They took Josh Dobbs off of his hot streak, and Minnesota just kind of came back down to earth. And I was glad that it was against the Broncos on national television. Broncos being at home in Denver, on the prime time Sunday night football game, and it was a good game to watch. Kind of a boring one as well, like the Eagles and Chiefs, but Minnesota does lose this one, so they are going to shift a little bit in the power rankings. But that's why Denver will be above them at 11. Cleveland in at the 13 spot. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cleveland's a weird 7-3 football team because they're rolling forward with Dorian Thompson Robinson, no Nick Chubb, no Jack Conklin, no Deshaun Watson. We know the injuries that have happened with them throughout the years. But Kevin Stefanski's doing a hell of a job. I mean, he really could be in considerations for coach of the year again. 7-3 DTR. Wasn't what hold on. Yeah, Pittsburgh lost to the Browns on the road. So Pittsburgh lost to Cleveland in Cleveland. DTR, his first game, crying afterwards on the field, man. I mean, you got to love it. Played solid, played as well as he could have. Kenny Pickett, kind of him and Kenny Pickett kind of playing on the same level. Not going to do a whole lot of wowing for you, but they can make some, textbook throws when you need them to. But this defense for Cleveland, I mean, being top 5 in all aspects, interceptions, fumbles, yards per game, points per game given up, even success rate in the NFL is very good for them. So Cleveland's going to be here at the 13 spot. Seattle's going to stick at the 14 and 15 spot here. So that means that the LA Chargers fall out of my power rankings and their piss poor play is just really starting to get under my skin. I can't keep them in my top 15. And then the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sure Bengals fans out there are going to hate that. Joe Burrow's injured. He's out for the year. This is a 7 to 8 win football team at best. And if you're 5-5 right now, like a lot of teams are in the NFL, in the AFC, you're not vying for a playoff spot. You're outside of that top seven. So there's no way in hell that 7 to 8 wins is going to get them there. And then I've got Las Vegas right outside at the 16 spot because they're 5-6, and they're kind of being sneaky with Antonio Pierce over there, making the switch to Aiden O'Connell, just kind of getting a new vibe going. People talked about, or Max Crosby talked about on the Pat McAfee show, how that meeting before McDaniels got out of there was real, and it seems like that comes to be true because the energy is just very vibrant and kind of new here with this Raiders team. But it's going to stick Seattle at still at the 14, and again Pittsburgh at the 15 spot. Seattle loses by 1 to the Rams on the road, and then Pittsburgh loses by 3 to the Browns on the road as well. So from the 15 to the 1, I've got Pittsburgh, Seattle, Cleveland, Minnesota, Denver, Miami, Buffalo, Houston, Dallas, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Baltimore, San Francisco, Detroit, and the Philadelphia Eagles continue to stay atop my NFL with AJL power rankings.